Gets it all the way for 4. Fine stroke.
Well, might not have faced Lamashani before, but he's dealt with him very well on that occasion. Nice confidence, pulling out the reverse early.
He was talking to his father, who flew across to the Netherlands last month in early May to watch his debut. I was asking him what sort of style of a batter he was, and his dad was saying that he can literally play every shot in the book, and sometimes, as you see that reverse sweep again, he can actually overcomplicate his game, and he'd been talking to him about just keeping things simple at the international level and working his way into his game, but very much backing himself to take on the X factor, the wicket-taking factor of Sandeep Amachani, to play his stroke and get a first boundary. More bounce than I expected today, probably more than we saw this time last year in the ODI series too.
Yeah, definitely more. You saw that ball that dismissed Richie Berrington. It was the extra bounce that did for him on that occasion, and a couple of LBW shouts where I think it's been the bounce that's gone against the bowlers in the end. Just that little bit of extra nip off the pitch.
Still looks like there's plenty of runs in the surface though. Always seem to get high scoring ODIs up in this part of the world. That one's just angling on, going to miss the leg stump. Lamachani was, everybody else was. The keeper and the first slip fielder didn't go with him. I think clearly missing the leg stump. 29 have been bowled, 166 for 4.
I wish I had a tenth of the stamina of that crowd, because they are still going over there. It has not stopped.
The 6 bowlers we've seen use thus far. Still no Dipender Singh Ari, which is probably the surprise for me. He can often be used as a death bowling option for Nepal, which is not something you'd expect from a right arm off spinner, but he's not really a conventional right arm off spinner. Very short in stature and spears them in. Maybe he'll be held back till Mark Watt gets to the crease, the remaining left-hander in the lineup, as Karen KC will continue. And with the crowd really starting to make some noise, probably a good time to welcome you all along to the coverage. You're watching us live on ICC TV. Great to see Nepal back into action, Mel, isn't it, after that 210-day break?
It certainly is, and boy, haven't they brought the crowd with them and the excitement. It's just fun. So many flags over there. I reckon I can see, what? I'm trying to count them.
Don't count them on air, Mel. Count them off air. Get the pad out. Get your lines and crosses up. Yeah, there's certainly several dozen Nepal flags. The only non-rectangular flag in the world.
It is, which I love. Yeah. But what I really love is just to our left on the scorer's hut is the St Andrew's cross flying at the top of the pole, and then
against the UAE with the DLS equation being needed because of bad light coming into play.
I remember obviously following you on social media and you posting all the way through it as well. was an incredible run for Nepal.
That final 30 seconds now, Mel, the clip of the last dying moments of that match, where no ball is bowled. There is not a single piece of cricketing action. The only cricketing action, if you'll describe it, is the umpires coming together. I think what was going to happen, because we had no communication to the match referee or the umpires, and all they did was indicate with a little cross of the hands beneath the waist and the removal of the bails that was that. I did have a DLS sheet in my hand, so I knew that Nepal were ahead by the very barest of margins. And remember, it was a win and a win only that would send them to Zimbabwe. And then the most remarkable part about it was the players sprinting on kind of was the cue to really indicate that Nepal had won or were very likely to win. And yeah, that clip where not one ball has been bowled yet, it's been viewed over 40 million times.
Wow.
A lot of the views, I must say, which I go on to it quite a bit, like once every couple of months, just to go and look. A lot of the views of it are cricket fans asking what's happened, because they don't know what happened. Maiden over from Karen KC, 166 for 4 after 30 here. Scotland still have a good platform, but Nepal fighting back, mainly thanks to Karen KC, their grand servant. And yeah, so many of the comments in the clip are, can somebody explain what's happening here and what's happened? But the thing that's always blown my mind about that day, March 16th, 2023, hope I've got that right, is it was maybe the first time in associate cricket history that associate-only cricket kind of captured the imagination outside of a World Cup event. So it was the first time, obviously that was the very first ICC Men's Cricket World Cup League 2. It was the 126th and final match of that cycle. Each of the 7 sides playing 36 ODIs. As Rijan Dakal comes back into the attack. And historically, those games had never even been televised, let alone you were lucky sometimes to get a live scorecard of some of them 10, 15, 20 years ago. But with that new IMG deal that they signed alongside the ICC to broadcast every single ball of every men's and women's ODI and T20I World Cup qualifying events, it meant that all of a sudden there was a platform for people to watch and engage. And the thing that I don't think I realised, certainly not at the time, I've realised subsequently, is the impact of that ability for people to watch. All of a sudden, you had an associate v associate game, Nepal versus UAE. Remember, UAE were really playing for pride. They were kind of playing for revenge because they'd been humiliated a touch by a lot of heavy defeats by Nepal in recent times. And Rohan Mustafa had been G'ing the crowd up playing the pantomime villa. Masif Khan had just scored the 4th fastest ODI century in ODI history. Unbelievable innings. Ludicrous acceleration. I think he had something like 78 off his last 20 balls. Nearly struck at 400 his last 20 balls, the innings. And it all of a sudden, it started to bring the associate game into the eyeballs and views of journalists, players, fans from Test nations. And I think outside of World Cups, that had never happened before. And I was getting messages from quite big name, full member, former players or commentators or pundits going, oh my God, would you look at this? 30,000 people hanging from the trees in and around the TU, and the most dramatic ending maybe in any ODI history with the exception of the 2019 World Cup final possibly.
Well, it really has opened it up, and social media as well. I see that all the time now with clips going viral in both the men's and the women's game when anything unusual happens, and it really has opened the game up. Even sometimes with things like the ECN, some of the stuff that we see over in Europe. I mean, you're just really kind of unaware of a lot of that stuff before, so it's been absolutely vital in spreading the game. So we hope wherever you are, you're enjoying watching this today. Joining us in our little marquee. Nicely played.
Yeah, stylish drive through the offside. But a nice lull here for Nepal just to apply some pressure. 42 balls that Asif Khan, 101 not out, was that day. And trumped by... Incredible thing about that chase was nobody for Nepal made more than 67 that Bim Sharkey made. There was 450s in the chase. And Nepal were, in essence, because they were in such dire straits, 6 for 2 and 37 for 3, requiring 311 to win. They were behind on DLS for, I think it was 42 of the 44 overs, if you looked at the equations. And then the most incredible innings from the then, I think he was 17 at the time, Gulshan Jha, who made 50 of 48, including taking 20 runs off a Mohammad Wazeem over. As we get to the end of the 31st, 169 for 4. I've never heard noise like it at any sporting occasion in my life. This, you know, the Maracana in Brazil or anywhere, you know, Eden Gardens in Kolkata, whatever venue you think is the loudest sporting event, it was matched by an associate v associate clash. And this is something that has always kind of been hidden away in the shadows and now is coming to the attention of everyone in the wider world. I don't know if I told you the story about having, you know, stumbled into a month later, randomly ended up in Mumbai with a great friend of mine, Scott Stars, who was commentating the IPL. Did I tell you this story before?
No.
Okay, well, we'll give it another whirl then.
Give it another whirl.
As Sampal Kami comes into the attack. Nicely delivered by Kami, but worked away for a single. So I was in between two gigs. I think I was in between Bangladesh and going to one in Oman, where I think Nepal were playing. I had a week off, and I was never going to go all the way back home, the nomadic life that I live. One of my favourite places in the world, a place called Goa, in particularly the south of Goa, just south of Mumbai. So the way the flights worked, I ended up in Mumbai for 16 hours, and by chance, as I got on the flight from Dhaka, having finished that Ireland-Bangladesh tour, I saw an update from Scott Stars saying he was in Mumbai, and I text Scotty. Scotty's someone I got to know through a personal friend over a decade ago, back when he was still playing, actually. We've now commentated together quite a bit, did the Under-19s World Cup, did Major League Cricket last year. But I said, Scotty, in Mumbai? And he goes, yeah, I'm doing a double header though today. And I said, mate, I'm there for literally 12 hours. He goes, tell you what, I won't be able to leave the hotel, but swing by for a beer and a catch-up after in the Taj Land's End, which is really close to the airport. I was staying at the airport just for the night. So I said, yeah, awesome. I said, mate, I'm not going to have any Wi-Fi or 3G though, so just I'll meet you in the lobby. Tell me when you'll be there. And he said, yeah, we've got big long day, double header. We'll get back from the studio probably midnight. I'll see you there midnight, but they'll keep the bar up until 2. We'll just have a beer and a catch up. Beats the outside edge. Good bowling from Sampal Kami. And I literally had no Wi-Fi, had no 3G, and I'm wandering around the Taj Land's End around midnight. Can't find Scotty anywhere to be seen. So I just take a seat. I've kind of had enough. And I hear an Antipodean accent and say, oh, Lenny, g'day, mate. I was like, I turned around expecting to see Scott Stars, and it was Brett Lee. And I've never met Brett Lee before, so I didn't know how he knew my name or why he was saying hello. I was like, oh, Scotty said you'd be here, mate. Come on, let's get a beer. And I was like, cool, yeah, sounds good. So Brett Lee's in the middle of ordering me a beer, and then over my shoulder comes another voice going, oh, Lenny, here you go, mate. This one's down the leg side. Still wasn't Scott Stars. Then it's Matthew Hayden comes along. So Brett Lee, Matthew Hayden. I was like, again, I've never met Matthew Hayden before. I've met him now since. And he said, oh yeah, Scotty said you'd be here. You know, we'll get a beer together. Then I'm name dropping everywhere. I'm sorry.
You are.
No, but there's a reason why. Then Christopher Henry Gale walks in and sits down. He's surrounded by Indian fans. He sits down. Graham Swan was there. And then finally, I get a tap on the shoulder with an Irish accent, or what I would still consider an Irish accent. Ah, Lenny, Scotty mentioned you might be right. How are you going? As this one's cut away, just be a single. That was Owen Morgan, who's someone I played a lot of cricket against growing up, still is a good mate. So I at least knew Owen. I didn't know any of the other guys. And then finally, Scott Stars arrives, last of them all. So the 7 of us were sitting around having a beer. And I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, I know Owen very well, but that's a personal friendship. And I know Scotty, but other guys I didn't know at all. And I rarely, Scott Stars being generous, saying, Lenny, you've got to tell the guys about last month. And usually he's winding me up and being mean, but he was trying to be generous and introduce me to the guys. As that one beats the outside edge again from Cammy. And I said, what do you mean, Scotty? I didn't know where he was going. He goes, oh, that game in Nepal, I was watching it in New Zealand. And for the first time in the conversation, even Chris Gale put his phone down and perked up. And he goes, I saw that game, man. They were hanging out of the trees. And every part of the conversation you were having. Oh, Morgan was saying, I've never seen anything like it. He'd seen the clips. And it was just, it's not so much, sorry for the name drops, not the intention of the story, but it was the fact that that game cut through with some of the very biggest names in our sport. Whatever their backgrounds, whatever country they come from, whether they'd ever watched a single ball of associate cricket prior to that. And it's that kind of fan fervour and passion and love of the sport that Nepal bring with their fans, with their colour, with their brilliance, that, is so positive for the associate game, and long may that continue. And the fact we can broadcast every single ball of all these games, hopefully there'll be more stories like that to tell in the future. End of the second session. Mel, you can drift off. Time for a drink for you. Time for a break for us as well. I hope Mel enjoyed that story. I'm not sure if you did. Good.
I know, I love that story.
Okay, good. End of the 32nd. We'll take a break here in the commentary box. Nepal are fighting back. It is gripping stuff, as we always expect in this ICC. Men's Cricket World Cup League 2. Hard to say which way this game is going. We'll be back with all the action in a few moments' time. 18 overs remain. It's 173 for 4. So, welcome back. So welcome back to the Forfoursure